Give yourself a week to clean your room, it takes a week. Give yourself an hour, it takes an hour. Time is not a constant force. Human effort is like an expanding gas. It automatically inflates to fill the container you build. This is not just a clever metaphor. It is a cold, mathematical reality. We call it Parkinson's law. Why does your brain do this? Why do we sabotage our own free time? To understand, we have to look back to 1955. A British historian named Cyril Northcote Parkinson noticed something strange. He was studying the British Royal Navy. The Navy was actively shrinking. The number of active ships was dropping fast. The number of sailors was also plummeting. But the number of desk bureaucrats was exploding. Between 1914 and 1928, the Navy lost a third of its fleet. But administrative staff grew by 78%. Parkinson realized a terrifying truth about human labor. Work does not correlate with output. Work correlates strictly with the time allotted. When you are given a distant deadline, your brain panics. It perceives the gap of time as empty space. And the human mind hates empty space. So it begins to manufacture complexity. A simple email suddenly needs a draft. It needs revisions and a meeting. You do research you don't actually need. You convince yourself the task is monumental, because if it takes 3 weeks, it must be important. And if it is important, you must be important too. Ever notice how the day before vacation is incredibly productive? You finish a week of work in 8 frantic hours. Well, you don't suddenly become a genius. You just stripped away the artificial time container. You forced the gas into a tiny jar. Researchers in Switzerland tested this explicitly. They asked students to evaluate a simple business plan. Group A was given 5 minutes. Group B was given a full hour. Group B did not produce better feedback. They did not find deeper flaws. They spent 55 extra minutes agonizing over trivial details. They exhausted themselves staring at formatting. The extra time did not improve the work. The extra time poisoned it. When you have too much time, perfectionism creeps in. Perfectionism is just procrastination wearing a suit. It feels like productive labor, but it is actually an avoidance mechanism. We stretch the work out to avoid finishing it, because finishing means facing judgment. It means the task can be graded or rejected. As long as you are working, you are safe. Is your long to-do list actually a shield against reality? Look closely at your daily routine. You schedule meetings for exactly 1 hour. Why 1 hour? Because your calendar's default block is an hour. If the default was 20 minutes, it would take 20. We let software dictate the pace of our lives, but the consequences go far beyond wasted afternoons. This law creates a psychological heaviness. When a task takes a month, it feels like a heavy burden. It drains your background energy. You wake up carrying the weight of unfinished business. It consumes your mental bandwidth. This prolonged stress elevates cortisol levels. It degrades your sleep and shreds your focus. You are tired, not because you're working hard. You are tired because the work is stretched too thin. Think about a student writing a thesis. They have an entire year to write it. For 10 months, they arrange notes. They read secondary sources and change fonts. The actual writing happens in a blind panic during the last 2 weeks. The first 10 months were not preparation. They were an anxiety-fueled illusion of progress. So how do we break the expansion? How do we shrink the container? The answer is artificial constraint. You have to become ruthless with your deadlines. You must use a technique called time boxing. Don't write a task on a list. Give it a strict, unyielding countdown timer. Tell your brain the deadline is real. If you have a report to write, give yourself 40 minutes, not an hour, not an afternoon. 40 minutes. Set a harsh alarm. When it rings, you must stop. What happens when you do this? Your brain enters a state of mild, controlled panic. It stops caring about perfection. It stops looking for unnecessary complexity. It violently prioritizes the core objective. You filter out the noise and execute. Are you confusing busyness with actual productivity? Society rewards the appearance of hard work. We praise employees who stay until 8 p.m. We assume they are dedicated, but they are likely just a victim of Parkinson's law. They stretched 4 hours of work into 10. We have built an entire corporate culture around this fallacy. We trade our fleeting time for the illusion of diligence. But your time is the only resource you cannot earn back. When you let tasks expand, you are robbing your future self. You are stealing hours you could spend resting, hours you could spend creating or simply being alive. The economy wants you to believe work must be a grind. But true efficiency is quiet and incredibly fast. It looks almost lazy to the untrained eye. A master gets it done and walks away. There is a psychological concept known as the complexity bias. Humans naturally prefer complicated explanations over simple ones. We apply this same bias to our effort. If a solution is fast, we don't trust it. If a task takes 10 minutes, we feel guilty. So we add unnecessary layers to justify our own existence. We decorate the cage. We polish the chains. But the goal is not to endure more friction. The goal is to eliminate it completely. You must train yourself to accept fast victories. When you finish early, do not invent more work. Close the laptop. Walk outside. Reclaim the vacuum you just created. Because the world will always try to fill your empty spaces. Every email, every notification, every meeting request is a leak. They are a gas expanding to consume your day. If you don't build the walls, someone else will. How many years are sacrificed to tasks that take days? Parkinson's law is a warning about human nature. We are masters at self-deception. We pretend we are trapped by our obligations. But we are the ones who built the trap. We forged the locks out of empty time. Tomorrow morning, you will wake up with a list of things to do. Look at the biggest, most intimidating item on that list. Now, cut the time you gave yourself in half. Watch how your brain suddenly finds a way. You don't need more time to accomplish your goals. Time was never the limiting factor. You just need a smaller box. Because until you compress your deadlines, your life will always belong to the work.